Hi, my name is Sarah Trumbull. I am the founder and CEO of the Job Applicant Perspective, the first anonymous crowdsourced user reviews for job ads across the US. This is a level of go-to-market awareness and public service for anyone lost in the gaslighting. My business is pushing a paradigm shift that the way I see it is wildly necessary, and part of the challenge of a first mover is public education. So this is what I mean to demonstrate for anybody that isn't there where I am right now. I hope to be able to demonstrate the value of what I'm trying to offer here and try to move this thing forward. Today, I'm going to read a blog post. It's going to come out tomorrow. It is 9/27. It'll come out on 9/28. It is called Deference as Value Capture: Why Silence Pays Someone Else. How the talent industry monetizes job seeker compliance and what it costs the labor force. Yeah, deference as revenue engine. The architecture of extraction. Anytime a system assumes it's entitled to your presence while refusing to engage with your experience of it as you define it, not them, it stops being reciprocal and it becomes inevitably extractive by design. This is the quiet architecture of both the modern labor market and the modern dating market. For decades, we were taught to approach hiring with polite deference. Submit your resume and hope for the job. But once job seeking and also dating moved online, that deference became digitized. And once digitized, it became profitable. I'd like to point out that all other marketplaces democratized when they went online. The ones that struggled digitized deference, as far as I can tell. Okay, today, job seekers and daters generate billions in revenue for platforms, recruiters, and talent industry intermediaries without ever being paid for the emotional and psychological energetic labor of applying, swiping, messaging, or waiting. Platforms capture the value of your presence, clicks, and compliance while giving you nothing back. No visibility, no accountability, no reciprocity. This isn't an accident. It's the business model. This isn't necessarily a secret plan hatched in a boardroom. In a way, it's worse. It's the lack of consideration for its impact on user experience altogether. Who this is for? This is for every person who stared at a blank rejection email or an unanswered message and wondered what went wrong. It's for job seekers exhausted by silence, daters confused by ghosting, and anyone who has been made to feel like they are the problem. It's for employers frustrated by broken funnels, for singles tired of endless swiping, for policymakers questioning why record job postings don't translate into record hires, and for researchers trying to understand why both markets feel like quicksand. And it's for anyone beginning to suspect that the dysfunction isn't a bug, it's a feature. The marketplace without memory. In every other online marketplace, feedback loops are built in. Uber lives and dies on rider and driver ratings. Airbnb collapses without reciprocal reviews. Yelp thrives on collective memory. But in hiring and dating, the economic incentives align to create silence. Why? Because traditions and norms that I articulate in previous blogs create that risk. So while Uber and Airbnb require reciprocity to function, these platforms are financially rewarded for avoiding it. The silence isn't just engineered, it's the path of least resistance to revenue. There are no transparent ratings, no signal about ghost jobs or dead-end profiles, no way to tell if the role you're applying to exists or if the match you're chatting with is real. By design, there's no collective memory, which means you can't make informed decisions and platforms never have to earn your trust. Instead, they monetize the appearance of opportunity. Every application you submit and every swipe you make, whether or not the job or profile even exists, drives engagement metrics that are sold back to employers and advertisers. When you can't compare notes, patterns stay hidden and the machine keeps profiting from your confusion. Shame as silence in a patriarchal society. This is where the design gets even deeper. When failure in the marketplace isn't just, I couldn't find the paint color I wanted, but rather, I'm not lovable enough to find a partner, or I'm not acceptable enough to get hired. A survival instinct kicks in, self-silencing. Keep in mind, we aren't speaking about gender here. We're speaking about vertical moralities, where community supports are given to those in positions of status, power, and authority, and stripped from those without it when times gets tough. The pyramid of power, there can only be one, is really a funnel for communal supports, a marketing funnel. In societies where vulnerability is punished, the fear of exclusion for people forces people to hide their experiences. Admitting you were ghosted, scammed, or repeatedly rejected feels like proof of personal unworthiness, so you stay quiet. The longer that you're unemployed, even more likely are you to conceal it. Part of why I make such a concerted effort to reframe this labor market, to argue with unapologetic passion in so many ways, is related to this knowledge. I know that I come across polemical? Yeah, that's the word. But in this kind of situation, you kind of have to. Rage breaks repression emotionally, just as reframing can help with it psychologically. It's not just strategic, it's also because I am that passionate. But like legit, you can't be academic when you're talking about a change like this, because academic tones and this sort of thing, when the default is invalidation, an academic tone is just a consent to invalidation. It's not going to work. That's a big no. Your shame silence isn't just emotional. Your shame is economically valuable. Take Indeed. In 2023, it made $3.9 billion in revenue, according to its fiscal year reports. Did it bring $3.9 billion in value to the job seekers using it, or did it extract from their unpaid silence and disrespected presence on its site $3.9 billion of value? I don't actually know the answer, but if no one else does, then what are we talking about here? Why do we call this functional? You should be able to know about an industry player so entirely critical. It's like saying we can't tell whether Pfizer's medicines work. Whether employer or job seeker, shame keeps the profit flowing to faulty products or products that you can't tell if they're functioning, which could be the same thing. Shame also protects the myth of the obviously non-neutral talent platforms. Shame doesn't just silence individuals, it shields entire industries from the normal regulatory and investigative mechanisms that keep all other marketplaces functioning. It works like a look-away spell, kind of. That brings us to the second aspect of unconscious but predictable behavior for people in a vertical morality. Novelty seeking over maintenance, just like kingdom over peasants, novelty seeking over maintenance. Yeah. Combining novelty seeking with the survival instinct to avoid shameful topics creates a deadly synergy in institutions. It directs funding and attention to new shiny projects while allowing foundational systems to crumble. The very infrastructure that 160 million people and their families depend on for food, housing, and healthcare lost all trust mechanisms when it went online. The silence from three major actors that normally would protect or warn the public about this level of betrayal has also been powered by deference, shame, and silence. 3 institutional blind spots as I see them. First, academia. Over the last 20 years, peer-reviewed published studies from top universities and think tanks across the country, while noting job seeker flaws, have managed to avoid analyzing the most basic mechanics of online hiring platforms. I made one breakdown previously in a previous blog post that also I made this video of. More will come. Emblematic anecdote. I may be a structural systems theorist by nature, but my academic training in economics was a semester back in freshman year of undergrad. The fact that my analysis has captured the attention of journalists from top-tier outlets and Ivy League academics might be less a point about me and more a stark indicator of the void that I fill. While it is an honor to be witnessed, the shamed silence that created a blindness this profound rings as a quiet foghorn of dangerous implications for what it implies, implications outside of journalism. Journalists are hardly unable to look up journalists are hardly unable to look up the very same fiscal year reports and hires to openings ratio changes that I have. In addition, think of the foolishness of the coverage in multiple spaces. Breaking news. Market goes online, drops all trust mechanisms for half of its stakeholders, well over 95% of its users, and talent shortages ensue. What could it possibly be? More with Ted to investigate. Really? It's almost like markets that lose trust stop functioning so well. Wild. Furthermore, employers openly admit that 1 in 3 postings are fake. It's across the board. There's a surveys run from 20% to 40%. One, like Resume Builder said, 1 in 3 employers admit to it. Yet this still isn't treated as a front page scandal for small businesses across the country, who, by the way, make up easily 95% of the business in the country, according to U.S. Chamber of Commerce in 2023. How do you think this affects childcare centers having to post $12 an hour jobs boosted on Indeed for $50 a day? Wow. Replace jobs with shoes. Think of the headlines. Shoe company admits 1 in 3 shoes. Shoe companies admit 1 in 3 shoes, pairs of shoes displayed on Amazon don't exist. While headlines for shoe buyer shortage mystery run on the next page. What are we talking about here? It's almost like nobody knows what a 2-stakeholder market is. A 2-sided market has 2 sides. They're connected. They're like a quarter, the head and the tails. If this thing isn't going well, this thing isn't going well. That's how it works. It's not confusing. Okay. Number 3, though, public policy. I gotta say, this is where it hits the worst. The absurdity of the inaction in public policy is staggering. Staggering. By any basic check from the Department of Labor or the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the labor market is clearly the world's largest, most technologically advanced magic claw machine. It profits the longer the 160 million unpaid users driving all of its value fail to find what they seek while openly marketing psychological shame for the privilege. For decades. I cannot recall the last time I have seen such an error in public policy and behavior, and I've seen a lot lately. But the ramifications here impact all the others. It is not as if anyone in this space is less aware of platform mechanics or publicly available fiscal year reports or hires to opening ratios, which you yourselves create. The level of obligation to do right by 160 million members of the American public is obviously in public policy. The SEC would shut down this nonsense by tomorrow. You need not trust me or even do the work yourself. Ask any of the AIs or hire a consultant. Everyone can tell the market is inverted, and it has been since it went online. How is this ever going to end? What do you think happens from doing nothing in this situation? Outside of the moral implications of such a lapse in judgment, a functioning national economy relies on a functioning labor market. Roads, streets, hospitals, and more. Businesses not being shuttered and city water being paid requires a functioning job market. Yet, a job market is a 5-star restaurant that, above all else, must not be reviewed by the people required to eat the food, because professionalism, it is realistically publicly mandated fine dining with no health department, no FDA, no requirement that anything on the menu has to exist, open evidence from multiple reputable sources and institutions, as well as Jolt's highest opening ratio, that it doesn't exist, and no requirement that even if it did exist, it should have to be served to the U.S. labor force, who will perish if they don't get enough of it. And yet, this is the economic foundation we are resting the economy on? There really aren't enough question marks to illustrate the epic error in economic judgment. While shame is hardly the only piece at play, it certainly actively contributes. Illustrative cases. The problem here is I have way more stories than this. They don't end, and more arise every day. The cost of this silence is staggering. Startups openly pad pitch competition traction with fake LinkedIn jobs. I was encouraged a year ago to give that a try. By the way, I created some fake job ads to try it out. Did you know that assistant to the general manager, not to be confused with assistant manager, with skill sets like karate and beet farming, would be so successful on so many platforms, get past the checkers? Scammers regularly clone recruiter profiles across LinkedIn and job ads. One alone made $440,000 in 2024 by using affiliate marketing, cloning a real recruiter's profile with their picture and everything, and sending job seekers just looking to improve their lives to get their identity stolen. A colleague of mine, Jay Jones, personally got over 6,000 such scammers removed from LinkedIn himself. LinkedIn has hired him. And you can't help but notice that whether you are there because of the scammers existing, or people are following him to watch him take them down, LinkedIn gets engagement. These are not glitches. They are the predictable consequence of a market left utterly unexamined by all the public institutions that should be holding it to task. There is no version of reality where this labor market is functional. Not at one. Instead, the market built to serve Americans is very openly eating them. It gets to call them to task for not jumping on the plate. Shame doesn't just hide defects, it monetizes them, fueling hundreds of billions in profits for industries that profit the most when they fail their stakeholders. Deference is a revenue engine. In both hiring and dating, when your desperation is the business model that creates the churn, deference is revenue and social silence is fuel. Small business employers pay to boost roles that keep their wages low, meaning churn. Small business daters pay for boosts, super likes, and premium visibility. Bigger employers use extra SaaS roles to do marketing, creating the engagement bait that floods the market, ensuring the next innovation to cut labor costs to be purchased or created. Platforms profit from the job ads, resume databases, sponsored profiles, and hidden algorithms that quietly optimize engagement, not outcomes. Third-party vendors sell fit tests, assessments, and matchmaking tools that fail as often as they succeed because failure drives even more attempts. Meanwhile, your time, energy, and hope are treated as free inputs into someone else's machine. The more you try and fail, the more valuable you become to the system, and the less valuable you're made to feel about yourself. This is why profits soar while outcomes stagnate, because silence pays, just not you. Human systems without reciprocity. This isn't just about hiring, it's about power. When a human system demands your participation but refuses to engage with your experience on your terms, not theirs, it stops being an exchange and becomes an extraction machine. That's coercion, emotional coercion, psychological abuse. Platforms require your engagement but erase your voice. Employers require your conformity but deny you transparency. Dating apps require endless swipes but don't guarantee visibility, safety, or honesty. Intermediaries profit from compliance while outsourcing all the risk to individuals. This is why both job seeking and dating feel disorienting, destabilizing, and lonely. These systems are not designed to reflect your reality back to you. They need your presence but deny your perspective. They capture your labor but erase your value. The system isn't built on reciprocity. It's built on a one-way transfer of energy that is brilliantly, coldly optimized to extract. It's not mere inefficiency. It's the predictable outcome of a model that treats human desperation not as a problem to be solved, but as a resource to be mined. Then I'm marketing my startup too. It's both, okay? It's both. A thing can be more than one thing. I learned that from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Choose the job applicant perspective. If you felt trapped in this system, you're not imagining it. That's why we built the Job Applicant Perspective, the first review-driven hiring platform where job seekers can share experiences, flag ghost jobs, and hold hiring systems accountable. Yelp for the fine dining experience with no health department and no FDA. Side note, like Israel mandates military service, why do we mandate economic service? Like, this is a lottery of economic service. And you are absolutely allowed to evaluate an experience that you cannot opt out of, you don't get paid for, that profits someone else to the tune of billions while controlling your ability to pay rent. I can't even say it enough. You're absolutely allowed to evaluate it. My gosh, yes. The takeaway. This is why ghost jobs flourish. This is why ATS filters misclassify talent and no one fixes them. This is why outcomes stagnate while profits soar. Because silence pays, just not you. Thank you. Please stop by the Job Applicant Perspective. I'm chatty, but, I'm passionate. So have a great evening. Be strong. The gaslighting is strange out there. And also, empathy does grow on trees. It does grow on trees. Like, in the middle, the job market, like, the internet made the job market into a snowstorm. Eat the world in a snowstorm. The people that you want to listen to are the people on the roads. The people on the roads need to talk to each other. Those are the people. Don't call the corporate office. You talk to the drivers on the roads at the rest stops. It's the way. Be kind to other drivers out there. Have a good night.